Welcome back to another video, and welcome to Marcintosh 2025. So Marcintosh is a month where we celebrate everything Macintosh. So this month you can expect a whole bunch of really cool Mac videos from me, assuming that I don't get sick and hurt my back again and actually have time to make videos. Anyway, today I want to take a look at what Apple thought laptop docking technology should look like in the mid-90s. So let's jump into that right after the intro. So in the mid-90s, Apple was looking at what people could do who were on the go sometimes, but at their desk other times. What would be a good technology for those kind of people that they could sell Macs to? And of course the answer is a laptop docking station or port replicator, depending on what it actually does. So I think everybody's probably familiar with what modern docks look like. This is an HP dock from, well, this one's from Goodwill. This is for an HP laptop. So you've got this big connector here that feeds all of the data from the laptop to the dock. And then on the back, you've got a series of ports, display, communication, keyboard, mouse, networking, and power. So when you get to your desk in the morning, all you have to do is plunk your laptop down, and then you're ready to work. So these are pretty common. A lot of laptops use these, but they're becoming a little out of favor now. What you're seeing these days are USB Type-C port replicators / docks. So you set your computer down, you plug in one cable, and then you can have power, video, network, drives, anything like that attached to it. Some of you may remember the Bookends laptop dock that was made for MacBooks, MacBook Pros, I guess 10, 15 years ago. So those are interesting because they weren't able to use a big port on the computer itself to get all the information and data and power across, but instead they would have little connectors to plug into each of the ports. So you'd set your Mac down on it, slide the ends in, and it would get power on one side, USB, Ethernet, video on the other side. All the ports that you'd have would be connected to this. So you could leave this on your desk, take your Mac with you, everything's still connected. So it worked the same way, and this was invented and sold because Apple, at that point, didn't really have a docking solution. There was nothing you could do to get all of your connections together at once. There wasn't like a cool port replicator. There wasn't the tech that they had in the 90s, which we'll get to in a second, I promise. And this was a good solution. Wasn't a great solution, but it was a good solution. So in the early 90s, Apple came out with a new line of PowerBooks called the PowerBook Duo. Originally they were 68K machines, but this one happens to be actually a later model. And this is the PowerPC version, the Duo 2300C. C standing for color. These Duos were fairly inexpensive compared to some of the earlier models that existed of the Mac laptop family. And that's because there wasn't much to them other than hard drive, keyboard, screen, power input, and this one has a serial port and a modem as well. So they're fairly lightweight, there's not a lot to them. So Apple was able to sell them for a little bit cheaper than a full laptop. But of course, if you wanted to do anything important with them, like say attach a hard drive, connect to the network, you're kind of out of luck. These don't even have a floppy drive or a CD drive, so there's not really any good way to get data on or off of these machines other than through the dial-up modem that was here under the leg. But what you will notice is there's a door here, but what's behind the door is what looks like a connector for a laptop dock. And that's exactly what it is. So Apple released a couple of different styles of docks for their Duo line of computers. And that's what Duo meant. Duo meant you could take a small, lightweight laptop with you while you're on the go, but then you could come back to your desk and plug in a dock and be working as if it was a desktop computer. Now, there was a couple of different styles of docks. They had a mini dock that would plug in the back that I think had SCSI and Ethernet only. But that's just a regular laptop dock. That's not super exciting. Why would we make a video about that? What's really interesting is that Apple came up with these. So this is the Duo dock. The Duo Dock 1, it was retro named as because they also released the Duo Dock 2 and a Duo Dock Plus. So with this device, it's got a big door in the front and you just put your whole computer right into it. It loads like a VCR would load a VHS tape, and on the back, you've got all the ports you could ever want, plus 2 expansion cards. Also inside, you can have additional video RAM, and underneath this board here, you can actually have a hard drive as well. So your dock has a hard drive built in, so maybe you've got applications that you only use when you're at home. Maybe you're backing up your data, but there's a number of features in this that aren't in a standard laptop dock, not even for today's kind of docks. And what's really fun about these is it does have this giant honking motor which pushes the machine in and out, pulls it in, pushes it out, and there's a powered eject button down here. So let's take a look at one of these in action, because I think they're pretty cool. All right, so here's my PowerBook Duo 2300C. As you can see, we're running Mac OS 8.0. It's got a whopping 28 megs of RAM and also a small-sized hard drive. But what's nice about these computers is because there's not a lot of ports to power, there's not a lot going on, they did have pretty good battery life. And the battery is here. And when these were in use, you would see a lot of people carrying around spare batteries because at that point, batteries were replaceable on the fly. So you could have, 2 or 3 in your bag. They sold battery charger stations for these, and you could just swap them out on the fly. Obviously, you'd have to turn it off or plug it in to swap the battery out. But unfortunately, this one, the battery's dead. And in fact, all the batteries I have for the Duos are dead at this point. So you could rebuild them, I guess, but I'm not planning on, doing a lot of mobile computing with it. The idea was, you take your PowerBook Duo out, you go to your local coffee shop, you start writing your great American novel, and then you want to come home and have a bigger screen to proofread it on, to do something else, to back up the data. Maybe you've done a bunch of research and all of your research is on your hard drive at home, but you don't want to be bothered with plugging in, all kinds of cables. And that's where the magic of the Duo comes into play. So at this time in Apple's life, all of their PowerBooks were this gray color, and all of their desktops were this beige color. But look what they did for the Duo dock. It's half and half. And to me, when this came out, I thought it was just genius. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to think of this, but it's a mixing of the mobile world and the desktop world. So you've got your mobile stuff on the bottom and your beige stuff on the top, including your monitor. And just that attention to detail, I was just, struck by it when I was, seeing these first come out in the mid-90s, early to mid-90s. Anyway, so let me show you how to insert your PowerBook into the Duo dock. Not that it's that difficult to figure out. So obviously we close it up, unplug the power, fold the feet up, and of course you also need to flip the door up. There's actually a little catch in there that if the door is not up, it won't let you insert it. All right, so with those couple of steps done, just load it in like you're loading a VCR with a tape. And then the Duo dock will pull it all the way in. So now with the keyboard and mouse that I already have hooked up, I can start up my laptop from the keyboard. And there we go, booting up as if it was a desktop computer. So as I mentioned, Apple made a number of Duo computers. This is a Duo 270, so this is a 68K based Duo. And as you can see, this one has a trackball instead of the trackpad, slightly older technology. I was kind of like the trackballs, but yeah, the trackpad, everyone's standardized on it. As you can see here, it has the same form factor as the PowerPC one, obviously, because it needs to fit in the same space. And as mentioned, these existed. This was a charger where you could charge up extra batteries, and then you could just easily swap these into your Duo. So back in the day, before everything was all put together with glue and sealed up and you couldn't modify your battery, Apple was more than happy to sell you extra batteries so you could use them on the fly and have a bunch ready to go. And one of the really cool things about this is that to power it, you just use your regular power adapter and it just clips on like that. So now I can run my Duo and I can charge my batteries all at the same time. I mean, it was just a pretty ingenious design. So that is another cool piece of this story, another cool piece of the puzzle. Anyway, so let's get the 270 out of here. All right, so again, the inside of the Duo dock, I showed you this a little bit, but more up close view. This one I've been working on doesn't work at this point, but there would normally be an interconnect card here connected down to run slots to the two NuBus cards. We have expanded video RAM. There's an FPU included in the Duo dock 2, but not the 1. And we have the hard drive underneath. We have our floppy drive on the side. So we talked earlier about Duos not having any way to get data on or off. Well, floppies in the mid-90s were still very common for getting things around. And of course you wanted to have a floppy, so they stuck one on the side here. A little inconvenient, sure, but at least you had it. So if we slide this whole board forward, we can lift it out and see that we have all this room underneath. And this is your floppy drive, and this is your hard drive. So this one has a 230 megabyte hard drive, which was pretty much standard for the time. So you can replace this. In today's world, you could use a Blue SCSI or something if that's what you wanted to do. But as you can see, it's fairly easy to access that stuff. And that's and that's basically it. And just for a quick view on the back, we have power button, ADB, standard Mac video, modem port, printer port, SCSI port. Now, unfortunately, it still uses the mobile version of SCSI, which is, what is it, HDI 15 or HDI 25? I forget what it's called. So it's not the standard 25-pin port SCSI, but it is SCSI. They had adapters at the time. You could use them. Then we have speakers, microphone, and an optional modem. I've taken the modem out of this one already. And you can see we have power and pass-through power, so you can plug your monitor into the power port as well. And here's where the two NuBus cards would go. So with the option to have two NuBus cards, you could actually drive 3 monitors off of a Duo dock. So you could take your tiny little energy efficient, no ports Duo, bring it home, and you could drive 3 monitors, which would be amazing for the early 90s. So anyway, once you get it up and running, is there anything special about running this Mac now? And the answer is no. Like, it's a docking station. I took my laptop, I went to the coffee shop, I wrote a bunch of paperwork up, I brought it home, I slapped it in here, and now for the price of, a laptop plus a docking station, I have both a laptop and a desktop. They were Apple prices, so it was expensive. And I should also note that around the same time, IBM and Compaq both also had similar types of docks on the market. I don't think they were as widespread as the Duo dock. Apple was really pushing the Duo, but they weren't the only ones. I'm not even sure if they were the first, but the other docks did exist for other platforms. Other companies made them too. So yeah, I think that's it. If you haven't already picked it up, I am a huge fan of this whole sort of technology where you've got your computer that comes in and out. It's nice and lightweight. I mean, today's computers, especially MacBooks, there's not a lot of ports, but just 5 years ago, you're hauling around a computer that's got HDMI, VGA, sound in, sound out. It's got like 12 USB ports, type 1, type 2, type C, power, Ethernet. It's got so many ports, and how often do you find yourself using those? I mean, these machines didn't have Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi wasn't a thing yet. But, in today's world, when I take a laptop out, or even 5 years ago, the only things I'd ever use on my computer, typically when I'm out, would be power port and Wi-Fi. So, having to carry around all that extra circuitry adds weight, adds complexity, adds failure points. So something about the simplicity of a Duo with a Duo dock is just really appealing to me. Now, you can definitely get similar things today. Like I mentioned, some of the MacBooks of recent years have been very scarce on ports. So it's kind of like that. But they didn't have, this kind of dock. You could probably get a USB Type-C Thunderbolt dock, but it's just not the same. So anyway, I just wanted to do a quick Macintosh video. I've got a bunch of other videos in the works, so stay tuned for that. But I hope you enjoyed. And if you do have any questions about the Duo dock or the Duo dock 2, please put them below. I'd be more than happy to talk about this at length, because I do love this entire setup very much. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Hi guys! Make sure to like and subscribe, and watch more of our videos later. Bye!